Hey everybody, how are you? We are going to do a color review of Anew Gray from Sherwin-Williams. The color number is 7030. So this is the chip. It's the only chip I have. I only had the small chip from my architectural kit to show you as we talk about it. So let's jump right into the color review and talk about some issues with colors like Anew Gray. So it's a low chroma color, right? Some people might describe it as a gray. Some people might even call it a grayish. And, you know, we talk about this all the time, how the words grayish, beige, taupe, khaki, they mean something different to everybody. But it is a low chroma color, and it belongs to the front half of the yellow hue family. And when I say the front half of the yellow hue family, I'm talking about this, right? This is the color wheel, Color Strategist Color Wheel, and we can measure color. And when we measure color, those data values tells us where the color lives in color space. So it gives you the hue family, right? The color data values, the hue value chroma notation tells you where Anew Gray is located in color space, which indirectly also tells you how the color was made, right? So Anew Gray has a hue angle of 87 degrees. So it's right here in hue family, the front half of the yellow hue family. And there are some inherent characteristics that you need to be aware of, some kind of idiosyncrasies that you need to know about low chroma colors like Anew Gray in this zone of color space. Namely, they can shift and look purple. And that's a very common thing. They can, some people say it's violet. Some people call it plum brown. But if Anew Gray or colors like Anew Gray are showing up purple in your space and you didn't expect it to, there are strategies. I can tell you how to work with this and what to do, a strategy to follow so you don't go back to the store and just keep picking up chips. I can't talk, and keep picking up chips that are essentially the same color as Anew Gray, because you can get stuck in that spiral because you do get to the point. There's a factor of fatigue here, and it's very frustrating. For example, you've seen people post pictures of their space where they used Anew Gray on their interior or their exterior, and they just go on and on how it's just the perfect warm neutral gray with no undertones, and they just love it. And then you go get it and it's like, what the heck, what are they talking about? It's very purple in my space. Well, it has to do with lighting, right? Without light, there is no color. And so it's just a matter of fact of your house that between the contents, the context in which you're viewing Anew Gray, and the lighting conditions that you have, these kinds of colors are showing up purple in your space. So what do? I'm going to tell you what to do. So if you're feeling frustrated and feeling like you've pulled all of these chips and you've bought all of these samples and everything is just starting to look the same, and you just, you don't even know which way is up anymore with these colors, I can show you exactly what to do so you know where you are. You don't keep buying essentially the same color over and over, and how to get closer to what you want, and hopefully a color that will work out in your space. And, if the numbers don't perfectly align with what I'm going to show you, it doesn't really matter, because it's the what we're trying to do is find a color that works in your space that shows up the way that you're envisioning. And sometimes that means, things on paper don't line up perfectly, and the result is unexpected. The solution is an unexpected solution. So we're going to talk about that. Basically, what I'm trying to say is don't get too wrapped around the numbers, right? If you followed me, you know that we're measuring color with a colorimeter. We're using the precise color notations, like I mentioned, so you don't have to guess about undertones. You can just go look up a color's hue family on the paint color DNA table, And that's what I'm talking about. When those hue family numbers don't perfectly align maybe with the jumping off point that you measured, that's okay, right? Because these notations, these numbers are just a framework. It's to help you navigate through color space factually with factual color notations to get to colors that actually show up the way you want them to. So don't get too wrapped around the numbers. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, it's just so formulaic and it's so prescriptive. And it's like, it is not. When you understand the framework that I'm talking about here, it's anything but prescriptive. It's a guidance. It's a guidance system. It's a GPS system for how to navigate through color space. So yeah, that's the problem with Anew Gray and colors like Anew Gray. That's why they can shift and look purple, and we know it, right? Because we understand that this is just a characteristic of low chroma colors in this particular pocket in color space. It's to be expected. And when you understand that on the front end, it's like, hey, I'm over here in this zone where low chroma colors can shift purple. Then you know what to look for when you test the color. And that's what my color strategists are well versed in, right? We know that as soon as we see a low chroma color and we see the hue family attached to it and where we are immediately in our brain, we know we're over there in that zone of color space. So it's like, I know what to look for, and it could happen. And if you're aware of it, then there are no surprises, right? We want to avoid surprises. So let me show you what I'm talking about when I say this zone in color space. So I have a really good graphic for you. So this is my Color Strategist Color Wheel. Again, it's a copyrighted color wheel. We did all the things, but you can buy one. If you go to the Land of Color in the shop, there's a tab in the menu where you can go buy one of these color wheels and we'll send you one. It's 6 inches diameter. So here we are in color space. And we are over here in this zone, the front half of the yellow hue family, around 85, 87 degrees is where Anew Gray is. And we know that we're in the can shift purple zone right here. From about the end of the red hue family, here at about 36 degrees, call it 35 degrees, over to 90 degrees. If you are in this area in color space with a paint color, a low chroma color, in your head, you should be thinking, when I test this color, it could shift purple, and I need to be looking for that. You can start with a smaller sample. You can start with a sample-ized sample. If you put that sample-ized sample up, and it's like, I don't see any indication of purple whatsoever, you're probably good to go. But if you put that sample-ized sample up, and it's sometimes like you look at it, you know, kind of like off to the side, and it's like, hey, did I just see a little moment of purpleness there? That's your clue to sample bigger, okay? So use the color tools. Use the color tools. Use the paint color DNA table to find out where you are in terms of hue angle. If you're over here, when you get that sample-ized sample or you buy the sample from the store, it's like, okay, I need to be aware that it can shift purple. Not that it will, but it could shift purple, and I need to look for that. And if I see any indication or just, you know, the slightest little flash of purple, you know to sample bigger, right? Have your painter roll out a bigger swatch on the wall so you can really see if that purple is going to show up or not, or how much. And then we can also predict if a color is going to show up a little bluish. And this is the bluish zone. These colors can shift and show up looking quite blue. And it's from the green yellow and part of the green hue family. It's from about 110 to 160 degrees in color space. These low chroma colors can shift up, can show up and look quite bluish. In fact, if you're looking for a lovely grayed blue, it sounds crazy, but if you're looking for a gray blue, start here. If all of the light blues that you've tried so far are showing up to baby blue, that's because you're over here in the blue hue family proper. You want a more complex, more nuanced looking kind of gray blue, you're probably going to find it here from the green yellow hue family. But this is what this diagram means. This is something that we talk about in my 4 Pillars of Color course. If you want to become a certified color strategist, these are the things that we know. We know where we are in color space at all times. And it's infographics like this that help us keep track of where we are and how to think about color and how to strategize to the right paint colors. So what do? Okay, you got a new gray and it's showing up to purple. What do you do? Well, you want to move hue families. Just move hue families. So if we were, let me go back to that diagram again. So if, I didn't close it, did I? So if it did happen and it's showing up to purplish, find out where you were, right? A new gray is 85, 87 degrees. Well, don't buy colors from this pocket in color space anymore. Don't keep buying samples of basically the same color over and over. Move clockwise on the color wheel. If you want to get away from that purpleness, you want to go this way, counterclockwise on the color wheel towards the green yellow hue family. And I'm going to show you how to jump from this hue family zone into another hue family region where it's less likely that this low chroma, warm looking gray could, show up just like that, just warm and neutral and everything you are envisioning. Okay, so let me go back to here. So how do you find out where you are? Well, the answer is, what is the hue family for this warm neutral gray that I thought was going to be neutral that's showing up purple? How do I know where it is in color space? Well, you go to the paint color DNA table and you look up the color. And I want to make sure I'm sharing the right screen here. So I'm guessing, and I didn't share the right one. Hold on. And you just go look it up. It's like, well, what, you don't have to guess. You don't have to compare it to a piece of white paper. You don't have to do any of those visual gymnastics. You just go look it up. And here we are on the paint color DNA table. So I did all of this work in advance, so the video isn't a million years long. But all I did was typed in the paint color name, Anew Gray, right here, and click the search button, and it would pop up. Well, I went ahead and I searched all of the colors on the strip because we're going to have that conversation too. So if you're looking at the strip of colors in the fan deck, this is what the fan deck strip looks like in the paint color DNA table, right? And here's Anew Gray. And you just look right here. It has a hue angle of 87 degrees. And it falls into that zone that I showed you on the infographic for the can shift purple zone. Okay, so then what do? Well, you go to the paint color DNA table and I open up another window, right? So I'm going to show you the second window that I have open. And you use the data values, 87 degrees. I don't want to be in the 87 degree zone anymore. So from the color data profile for Anew Gray, I knew that it had a lightness value of 75 and it has a chroma of 7 and a hue angle of 87. So I searched for another, I want to say a new color, but it's Anew Gray. That gets confusing. So I want to search for a different color from Anew Gray, but I want it to be just like Anew Gray with the same lightness and the same chroma, but I just need to move hue families, and you can do that at that granular level inside the paint color DNA table. So for lightness value, I'm going to start at the 75 degrees, the 75 value, which is Anew Gray, but I'm going to make the range up to 80, between 75 and 80, because I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit lighter. And for chroma, I want it to be similar to Anew Gray, which had a chroma of 7. So the range I'm going to search is 6 to 8. And this is what I got to change, right? Anew Gray had a hue angle of 87. I want to get away from that. So I added 5 to 87. So I'm going to start at 92 and search the range 92 to 100. So these are my ranges to find a color just like Anew Gray, but in a different hue family. Just like Anew Gray's lightness value from 75 to 80, because that was the range. Anew Gray's chroma was 7, so the range I'm searching is 6 to 8. And then the hue angle is when I'm moving. So I'm going to search from 92 to 100 degrees in color space. And these are the results. I didn't select a brand. You can narrow it down to a brand, but I didn't because I just wanted to see what was available on any brand in case I wanted to try the color matching strategy, which is a whole other discussion. But ice formations, brushed aluminum, Seattle mist, Revere pewter, hurricane haze, skyline steel, vintage pewter, Benjamin Moore, PPG, Sherwin-Williams, Behr. You have options if you're looking for that particular kind of characteristic and vibe that Anew Gray has, but it's showing up purple for you. Chances are you can get that same vibe, that same characteristic, that same look with one of these colors, and it won't shift purple on you, given your lighting conditions and your context. And now you can strategically sample, right? These are different colors from Anew Gray, and I might put these in order by hue angle and start. Revere pewter is the closest to Anew Gray. That's out of that zone, and then move on to skyline steel. And from one extreme to another, if you don't want to spend a ton of money on the samples, I'd choose 3. I would choose Revere pewter. It's closest to Anew Gray. I'd pick one in the middle, maybe Seattle mist from Benjamin Moore. And then at the other extreme, the farthest away from where Anew Gray is, would be brushed aluminum at 100 degrees. So now you have 3 colors to compare to Anew Gray, and odds are incredibly excellent that one of these 3 colors is going to deliver the look that you're wanting in terms of the nuance and characteristics of Anew Gray that wasn't working for you. Okay, so that's the strategy. So that's the problem. That's how you diagnose what's happening and why it's happening and what to do about it, right? The solution is in the paint color DNA table. The filters are super easy to navigate. What you saw was my favorite operation. There are other operations you can use in those filters. There's a tutorial above the table if you want to spend some time in there. I have people, my subscribers, get incredibly creative and are incredibly competent with those filters. The things that they have done is like, you guys are so smart. I tell you that all the time. You impress me all the time with the results that you guys get from the table. I'm super boring. I pretty much only use that one operation that I showed you. I like a range. I like to look at a range of lightness. I like to look at a range of chroma. I like to look at the range of hue angles. And then I like to pull chips. And then I like to take a look, right? So we're not coloring by the numbers in any way, shape, or form. We're just using the framework of hue, value, and chroma to navigate through color space strategically. So we're not pulling chips we don't need. So we're not buying samples we don't need. It's a strategy. That's why it's called color strategies. That's why I certify color strategists. This is why, right? It's a smart color. It's a super smart way to do this versus eyeballing everything and, making your best guess and all of the visual gymnastics. And, if you want to see undertones, you have to compare it to a piece of white paper. I don't have time for that. I mean, who has time to do that? And that really is where the onset of the fatigue. Physiologically, your eyeballs get fatigued, and then mentally, it can wear you out. And it's just, you don't have to suffer through that. So the other thing that was interesting, talking about this strip chip, this is what this is called. I decided to pull all of them into the paint color DNA table because I wanted to know if they were all in the same hue family, because we've talked about that before too. And you can't count on all of the chips on one strip being in the same hue family. That is not a guarantee in any way, shape, or form. And I'm trying to get the right thing up because I have two windows open in the paint color DNA table. And this is it. So this on the paint color DNA table, when I'm scrolling through, is this strip chip from Sherwin-Williams that you can pick up in the store or in the fan deck. And if we take a look, they're in order from lightest to darkest, just like on the strip. And if we look at the hue angles, you can see they're different. Really, we want to look at the family column because this is going to tell us if we've jumped hue families or not. This will tell you if they're all in the same family or not, and they aren't. Mega Gray and Keystone Gray are both from the yellow-red hue family, and the rest of them are from the yellow hue family. So if you're thinking about pulling all the colors off of one strip and you're going to use agreeable gray with Keystone Gray, for example, it's probably not going to have that perfect pitch of color harmony like you might expect it to because it jumps. It's a little, you know, they're too far apart in color space. They're not in the same hue family zone. So those are the more intricate color strategies that you learn how to refine in the 4 Pillars of Color course. You know, and if you're a homeowner and you just want to figure this out for your own house, you're welcome to join Camp Chroma and sign up for the course. I have a lot of homeowners who have done that because you can spend the equivalent in color samples and time and effort. It can cost you more without the course. The course can save you a great deal of money when you learn how to navigate through color space. And this is one of the things that people are always surprised to learn, that all of the colors in one strip do not belong to the same hue family. You are going to get different results if you pull agreeable gray, for example, and then use the filters in the paint color DNA table to find a color just like agreeable gray, only darker. Similar to what we did with Anew Gray. You can use the filters at the top of the table to literally fine tune the 3 dimensions of color, lightness, chroma, and hue angle, or hue value and chroma, however you want to look at it. It's the same thing. To arrive to find the colors that you're envisioning and that have the perfect pitch of color harmony with your main color, like agreeable gray. Does agreeable gray and Anew Gray work together? Yeah, they absolutely do. They're close enough in color space, right? Based just on the fact that they belong to the same hue family, establishes a thread of color harmony. One is darker than the other. Obviously, Anew Gray is darker than agreeable, and Anew Gray has more chroma than Anew has more chroma than agreeable. So yeah, you have to kind of take a closer look at the details based on the colored data profiles you're able to compare in the paint color DNA table and make your strategy from here. So agreeable and Anew Gray are a great combination, but agreeable and Keystone Gray isn't ideal. So then you know to go do something else. Okay. So that's the story with Anew Gray. We can move on to the colorography. Hey, everybody, I can see your comments, by the way. I'll get to you, Klein family of 5. We're going to move on to the colorography for Anew Gray. We're going to take a closer look. This is really the classic color review part of the video. A Klein family of 5 says, I need someone to do this for me for Sherwin-Williams Origami White. It looks a tinge purple on your exterior. I can do this at the end. We'll go take a look at Origami White if you guys want to stay with me. We're at 24 minutes now. I don't want this to go too long, but we'll squeeze that in. So it's going to be a little bit longer video because we'll answer the question about Origami White as soon as I get through the colorography for Anew Gray. Let's go there next to keep it moving. Let me share my screen because I have the colorography ready to go. And let me get there. You know what we're going to do? I need to find it. I have the, I also have the page from Sherwin-Williams talking about Anew Gray. We're going to talk about that too after we do the colorography, because it's interesting to get their take on how they're describing the color appearance of Anew Gray. I thought I had this window open and I didn't, so I just had to go open it quickly. But I just want to show you how, you know, those pages from the paint brands really don't help you a whole bunch all the time. And experts, here it is. I forgot what I called it. The URL is the expert color review and color science review, and I didn't see it. So it's been here the whole time, you guys. Okay. You see my screen, Anew Gray, 7030. This is at thelandofcolor.com in the colorography lab on the tab. So first I have just the paint blob, which you're free to copy and paste and use if you want. If you click on this, it will take you to Sampleize for a peel and stick sample. So here's the colorography. This is where we get into the meat of it. These are Munsell notations. We were talking about hue angles before. So in the LCH color space, it was 87 degrees, which is over here. You see my blue arrow? Well, the Munsell notation is 1.5 to yellow. We're still on the front half of the yellow hue family. Why is it different? Why is this 1.52 plotted here, which is far away from 87 degrees here? Well, it's two different color spaces, right? The hue angle is the LCH color space. This is the Munsell color space, the inside spokes. Pick one lane and you stay in it. But it's the same information, right? We're still in the front half of the yellow hue family. We're still in the can shift purple zone. The hue angle and the Munsell hue family notation on the colorographies will rarely, if ever, align perfectly. And, you know, that's just a matter of math, really. And it's extremely helpful because it gives you two different perspectives on how that color could be perceived. Some people might feel that it does have yellow-red overtones, you know, because of where it sits in color space. Just like some people feel that it shows up a little purplish, it might be showing up a little too peachy for you. It depends on your stuff and your light, right? And this explains it. And having both perspectives from two different color spaces, hue angles and Munsell hue families, helps explain the human perception of it, right? Two different frameworks to help define and describe actual color appearance, how people, real people see it, which is another reason why what I'm talking about is so not formulaic or prescriptive. Instead, it's models, right? These are color models based on human color perception. So it's a good thing that we have two different ways to look at these color appearance notations. Okay, moving on to value. It has a value of 7.41. We have the eyeballs on the value chart because this is telling you this is how light or dark the color looks compared to white at one end and black at the other. Chroma, it's telling you that Anew Gray has a chroma of 0.98, which is almost 1. When you get to a chroma of 1 or more, you know that that color has some colorfulness to it. The lower this number, the more neutral, the more knocked back the color is going to show up. So be aware of that 1.0 mark, because at 1.0 you start getting out of near neutral color territory and into more of it's just a color. LRV, light reflectance value. These are sunshines on the scale, which is different than the eyeballs on the value scale, because light reflectance value tells you how much light a color reflects. That's all it tells you. It doesn't tell you how light or dark a color looks. Can you infer how light or dark a color looks from light reflectance value? Yeah, you can, but why would you when you have the value scale that just tells you straight up? And we are here in color appearance in terms of lightness and darkness. We're here. So, you know, why try to infer that from a percentage of how much light the color reflects? I include it because for visual ergonomic strategies, you need this percentage. So again, those are more advanced color strategist things that we have to do when we have to consider visual ergonomics and accessibility issues in the built world. So that's why that's there. And then we come down here to Anew Gray's Atlas. Where does it sit within the yellow hue family relative to all of the other colors, relative to all of its other siblings in color space? And this is where Anew Gray sits. This is nice to see for a lot of people because you can see how far away from a white or an off-white it is. You can see how far away it is from the most saturated point in its hue family. You can see how close it is to the value scale, the neutral value pole. These are all totally neutral, colorless, achromatic colors in this first column. And you can see how close to neutral it really is, or how close to being saturated it is. So people love these atlases. I don't have a way to make these quickly. These are all made by hand. And then in the rest of the color review, I tell you some other stuff about the moments of purpleness, and don't choose your neutral colors from this hue family neighborhood if you're really concerned about that. And a balanced quality of light, Anew Gray will be perceived as a mid-tone, warm, neutral gray. So when you see people out there talking about these colors online and you see, it's always, it has no undertones in all caps. Well, it's based on their light and their stuff. So it doesn't mean that, just because it's showing up purple for one person, it doesn't mean that it is purple. And then I have a Pinterest board with some pictures of Anew Gray. And again, this is in the colorography lab on the Land of Color. Okay, so that wraps it up for Anew Gray and the color review. And so we want to go take a look at Origami White, and we can do that. I'm going to do that in the paint color DNA table for you. So if you don't want to stay for this part, I'm done talking about Anew Gray. We're moving on, and I'm going to go look up Origami White. Let me share my screen with you while I'm doing this. Okay, you guys can see the paint color DNA table. I'm in here. I'm going to hit the search button because I typed in Origami White, and we can see that Origami White has a lightness value of 91. It has a chroma of 5, and it has a hue angle of 97 degrees, and it's showing up with just a little bit of purple for her. So I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to select just Sherwin-Williams and from the brands, and I'm going to select colors of off-white. Let me make sure this is where I want to be. 9, 12 to 10, a value of 9. Okay, and let's take a look at the other off-whites and see if Origami White is in here. What did I do? I have to take out Origami White. And let's just go look at the list of off-whites from Sherwin-Williams, and let me see if Origami White falls in here really quickly so we know where we are. Origami White is not a color of off-white, so Origami must be a light near neutral. Let's go take a look at that. This is how I'm doing it the fast way. Let me go see if it's over here. No, it's too dark. So okay, Origami White. Let's go take a look at this a little bit closer. we need to go find a color that's just like Origami white, but in a different hue family pocket. So I'm going to go up to the tutorial. I'm going to copy my favorite operation. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to paste it in 3 times to the lightness, chroma, and hue angle range. I'm going to take this out before I forget because the search won't work when I change this. So Origami white had a value of 91. So I'm going to do 90 to 92 in the range, 90 to 92. And then it had a chroma value of 5. So I'm going to do 3. I'm going to do 4. I'm going to do 4 to 6 because I like a range. And it was 91 degrees. So we don't want to do 91 degrees. We want to go more clockwise in color space. So I'm going to add 5 to that. So we're going to start at 96 and we'll go up to, let's say 102 and see what we get. And I'm always taking a chance when I do this live because you never know. There might not be an answer, but there is. So you have some options. If Origami white is showing up a tinge to purple, here is a list of some ideas for you. Klein family of 5. And you have a lot of them. So let's make this list shorter. Let's just do Benjamin Moore, Bear, and Sherwin-Williams. In the brands, I'm going to hit the search button, and that made it a lot shorter. So Dove Wing from Benjamin Moore, Sea Pearl, Dune White, Lacy Pearl, Glacier. Dune White's showing up again because it has 2 different numbers. Dove Wing, the same thing. Dove Wing has 2 different numbers. Sea Pearl is on here twice. Glacier, you know, we're going to put these in order by alphabetical order because now we can see where there are dupes. These are called I forget what they call them. I have it up here. Aliases. Benjamin Moore calls these colors aliases. They have a lot of colors that are in their collection 2 times, but they have different numbers. So Dove Wing, Dune White from Benjamin Moore, Glacier White, Lacy Pearl. Here's Origami. Of course, it's going to show up because it's in range. Pearly White, Sea Pearl, and Weathered White from Bear. So, yeah, that's your list. I'll go over it one more time. Dove Wing, Dune White, Glacier White, Lacy Pearl, Pearly White, Sea Pearl, Weathered White. And they all belong to the same yellow hue family, but they are more clockwise in color space than Origami. If we put them in order, we can see by hue angle, we can see that Lacy Pearl is at 96 degrees, so that might be a little too close to Origami. But starting with Dove Wing, we are moving more clockwise in color space. So Pearly White, might want to start with that because it's the farthest away. Okay, I think that'll do it. That's all I have for you guys today. And I will talk to you next time. Thanks for being here.